As we were wrapping up our stay in Tokyo, our final morning, we had a bit of a shock in the form of an earthquake. I believe they said it registered a 5.1 on the Richter scale. So that was a little bit of excitement. No damage and no problems. The other thing I wanted to show you about our hotel, which was quite nice, was the toilet. Now that might seem a little unusual, but let me just tell you, if you've never tried one of these Japanese toilets, you don't know what you're missing. You got kind of all types of buttons here, various washing apparatuses. You flush the toilet from the side on this particular one, and there's a little sink on the back of it, which we rarely use. There was another sink in the room, but it actually fills up the toilet. So that's kind of interesting. And on the controller, there's all kinds of heats, and the seat is heated. There's just all kinds of buttons. After all that excitement, we went to the French toast factory where we were able to indulge on some souffle pancakes. They're very interesting. They are not quite like the pancakes that we are used to. They're more of obviously a souffle type texture. This is the sister's plate here. Sheena and I got it. It was one French toast and one souffle pancake. And then Dylan's was the creme brulee. And then we got the sausage here on the side. The French toast factory is actually on the 8th floor of a gigantic electronics store known as the Yodobashi Akiba, I think is how it's pronounced. But it has a ton of home appliances, extensive selection of gadgets and things that you may or may not have ever seen. And the first section that we went to here was the kitchen area where they had a ton of these small ovens. And it was interesting that they showed you in real life what actually would fit in each of the ovens so you would know. I assume that Japan is more used to I guess, the eyes of an oven or eyes of a stove and not actually having an oven. These were refrigerators with all these drawers, which we found pretty interesting. They had the refrigerator sections up top, and then these were like salad drawers and cooling drawers, and then below were more of the freezer drawers and things. And again, they had pictures in there showing you exactly what would go into each and how much it would hold. And they don't look that big, but once you open them up, it was quite kind of interesting to see what all, according to the pictures, that this refrigerator would actually hold. So we found that interesting. But lots of washers and dryers and all kinds of dishwashers and that kind of thing. Anything you would need for your home, this store had it as far as appliances, vacuums, cleaning utensils, etc. This was a row of, I guess, digital projectors. And it's funny because most stores that I'm used to shopping at has maybe one or two projectors, and this store had a whole row of them. And they had guitars, and you can imagine who I found over in the corner eyeing and looking. But they had tons of guitars for adults and for children. And in addition to that, they had some, I guess, equipment that I'm not really sure what it was, if it was a guitar, but you can see the folding keyboard there next to it. They also had some what I call old school cassette players, what we used to call in the 80s as Walkmans, that type thing. So they still sold those brand new. And I thought that was interesting to see that they're still available for sale there. And some of the other things that they had the micro cassette recorders. They had a ton of those things. I can remember using those in college, so I guess people still use them for meetings. Back in the music area, they had tons of pianos and keyboards, and like I said, the guitars and available. They also had the roll-up piano. This was going into the bathroom. I don't know what it is about this video, but I'm going to show you the public bathroom. I wanted to show you how clean the bathrooms are. These are mirrors with projection screens behind them. You can just see how clean, and there was no odors. There were attendants constantly looking at the bathrooms, keeping them clean. And although this is a public restroom, they have the Japanese toilets as well. They even had them for sale. So we looked at that and really considered maybe bringing one back to our son and daughter-in-law's house, but we didn't because we wouldn't fit, or it wouldn't fit. This is a sound burger, which from the picture, I guess is a Blu-ray. I guess it plays CDs, and its key thing is that it will fit inside a suitcase. And then you've got JBL speakers. There's tons of earbuds. I've seen these since we got back on TV actually, but these kind of look more like a earring. These were the neatest things I found. These are earbuds with screens on the case where you can watch movies and listen to music. These were shaped like little cats. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but I thought they were interesting. They were cute, especially for kids if they wouldn't lose them. But I'm sure a lot of adults have that. A lot of people in Japan are into these characters, so I'm sure that adults use those as well. When we left there, we started walking back toward Ueno, and we just wanted to point out here that underneath this highway, you can actually there's train tracks above this. You can see where they have used the space underneath to build restaurants and businesses. So in a city the size of Tokyo, I guess there's really no space left open. You are using whatever you've got. Here's a view from a cafe we stopped at to have some coffee on our way back and walking. And this is one of the traffic cops. He seemed very kind. He was helping an elderly man. But we walked back to Ueno and wanted to see the 3D panda display. And this was one of a couple that we actually videoed. You'll see the next one coming up here in a little bit. But it is charming, and I would say the video really doesn't do it justice because it's much more impactful in person for sure. The giant panda is located just outside the Ueno station near the Starbucks, so it's a nice spot to sit and drink coffee and watch the panda. He's really cute, and like I said, the video doesn't do it justice. It looks certainly more 3D in real life. But to be honest, he was not my favorite 3D animation that we saw. That'll be coming up here in just a moment. Sorry, Panda. Okay, now this is some video of when we were in the Shinjuku station area, and you can just see how crazy busy it is here. And unfortunately, on this day, it was sprinkling a little bit, but we persevered on because we wanted to see what we're about to show you. It was one of the highlights for me of our trip because I had heard so much about it. But the rain didn't deter us too badly, and you can see kind of in the middle of the screen at the very top there is a Godzilla hanging over the top of one of the buildings there. Hopefully I'm going to zoom in on him here in just a minute. There's a Don Quixote here on the right, which was a massive store. I can't believe everything they were selling in that store. There were some sections that were quite interesting, to say the least. But yeah, there's Godzilla, and maybe I didn't zoom in on him. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Okay, here he goes. Yeah, there's Godzilla hanging over the building. So now we're going to the Calico Cat, the 3D animation of the Calico Cat, which for me, like I said, was one of my highlights.
Join English Space in Japan!
It is pretty neat.
And we ended it with the King Kong hanging from the building. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.